Welcome to the Football Show on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. I'm Peter Martin, Alan Ruff, Tam McManus and Lee McCulloch are here with me on this Friday as we look back over the wreckage of Europe and of course ahead to the big games in the Scottish Premiership. Here's what's coming up on the menu.
Brendan Rodgers reveals Paulo Bernardo loan deal could be Celtic's last signing in this window. Michael Beale believes it's all to play for against Celtic, with the Parkhead side also not in top form. Barry Robson claims Aberdeen should have beaten Hacken over two legs after their Europa League playoff failure.
I believe over two legs we should have won the game, we should have went through with the amount of chances we created.
St Mirren duo win Manager and Player of the Month double, with Stephen Robson and Ryan Strain picking up the awards.
As every manager says, it's not definitely not one person at this football club. I think it's a culmination of everybody's hard work throughout a long period of time.
Okay, let's find out if everybody's on a downer. Certainly some of the emails we've been getting and messages on the app would suggest that it's not been a great week for Scottish football. Scotty says, dismal week for Scottish teams in Europe. Obviously we can't compete with the money brought in by other leagues. All our best young players are snapped up by teams that make ridiculously high offers. How can teams in a league that generates 5 million over 5 years compete with the English Premiership, for example, when the team who's relegated gets at least 10 times the amount that you could make in the SPFL. Things need to change at the top level. John says, another load of rubbish from Rangers. PSV controlled the game with their accurate passing and attacking football. They made Rangers look like a bunch of amateurs. Michael Beale's on a slippery slope if they lose to Celtic. That's John, a Rangers fan in Canada. Just an indication, by the way, I could have read out, a million and one more on this one. So let's cut to the chase then. We're also going to talk about the transfers too, but European football, it was just dismal to say the very least, and it will eventually go on to the clubs that are still in Europe and the draw shortly, Ruffy, but it was hard to watch.
It certainly was. I don't know which game you want me to start with first, but
well, let's start with 5-1 Rangers.
Yeah, poor on the night. I think we saw enough for PSV at Ibrox that they had individuals that could hurt you in the final third of the park. That was to be the case. I think they got their noses in front. Rangers at 2-0 had a couple of chances, but after that, I think some of the goals that Rangers lost were really poor. And I think if you analyse it, there was a right few players didn't perform on the night. These things can happen, but once they got ahead they just steamrolled Rangers.
Well, it's funny you saying that some players just didn't perform in the night. Lee, I just thought they were technically better, quicker. They had players there that absolutely tore Rangers up.
Yes, I think when you look at the strength and depth that they've got in their squad, that Sabrari was unbelievable, unplayable, especially that night. I think yes, they've got a good team, good squad, good individual players, but I don't think Rangers were firing at all. Having said that, when Tavernier scores, you think maybe if they get a little bit of pressure that goes to 2-2, could have been a different game, although it wasn't. 90 seconds later they concede from a set play, which has been a little bit of a weakness for Rangers and certainly since the start of the season, probably the end of last season. So I think nobody can really grumble that PSV over the two games were the better team. Yeah,
the biggest problem we have in this country from week to week, and sometimes we're guilty of it ourselves, Tam, is that knee-jerk reaction to negative results. But come on, this is a recurring theme here. So Rangers are out of the Champions League. They've got the net of the Europa League, but you've got Aston Villa an 8-0 aggregate win. You've got Hacken, who suddenly are a top European side who dismantle Aberdeen at home at Pittodrie, and PAOK just absolutely hammered Hearts.
But obviously start with Rangers. I thought that PSV just looked on a different level to Rangers. I thought they did at Ibrox at times as well. I just didn't think they had that cutting edge at Ibrox, so I think they would have won at Ibrox. I think you look at the subs around, Tillman come on, he would probably be Rangers' best player if he was still at the club. One of the best players, so that's the difference. Front three absolutely terrorised Rangers, and PSV won the game comfortably. Hibs was a dead rubber. I think that in terms of just go down there and don't get beat 5 or 6, that was just a fixture they had to fulfil.
Hibs' best result of the night though, wasn't it?
And by the way, that you could argue the case. I think Aston Villa took their foot right off the gas there.
I think that I watched the Aberdeen game. I actually didn't even watch the Hibs game. I was just, forget about it. But I watched the Aberdeen game. I thought Aberdeen, if they took their chances, can I tend to agree with Barry Robson, they would have won the game. The little boy, what was his name that played for Hacken?
Ibrahim Sadiq.
He was absolutely fantastic. He was a difference, Peter. He was phenomenal. I think Aberdeen would have went through if he wasn't there. He's obviously just signed for Alkmaar. I thought Aberdeen were very, very wasteful. They missed two clear chances, one-on-ones at crucial times in the game. And I think if Aberdeen get it back to 2 each, I think they'd have won the game. They didn't. Hearts just got hammered. Listen, I thought they looked a good side at Tynecastle as well. The heat, the big pitch. Listen, Hearts get battered, but I think in terms of all the clubs, I think we've got to look at from the top down. We've got to look at first and foremost, can we help our clubs in Europe? PSV never played at the weekend. That's big. The clubs, SFA, SPL, they've got to help your clubs. That's the first thing. And secondly, they've got to be technically better, because you're right, we go away from home and Scottish teams go away from home, and it's just kick and rush. It's just kick the ball to the park. Teams can keep the ball passed round you. At home it's different, Peter, because at a Tynecastle, a Petod, at Easter Road, you can, the energy, the crowd and tighter pitches, you can maybe get after teams and put them under pressure. Away from home on a big pitch, you're just getting murdered because technically they're better.
Okay, I disagree with you on the whole. Let's give them the weekend to prepare.
It would help, Peter.
Come on. It only helps if you've got players that can play the game.
Arguably, I think with Rangers' situation, they could have probably been doing with the game to help the new signings gel instead of maybe getting the weekend off. Do you know what I mean by that? With giving them another game to get a better understanding with the players and the players round about them. But I'm with Tam. I think if other governing bodies are given the weekend off to teams, I think it should be an option. Whether my point is, I don't think Rangers would have taken it, but maybe other teams would have.
Yeah, right, okay, I'm disagreeing with Tama and Lee Ruffy, and I'll tell you why. The point is, we are producing a number of players who are now getting cherry-picked to go down to England, and I think some of our viewers have made those valid points. But of all the teams that we are getting done by, they've all got some technically gifted players, the old Tanner Ball players, the people with skill, the boy Sadiq, his goal when he just shifts it from one end to his left and then bang, it's in the roof of the net. I mean, they've got players technically that are better than what we are. A little bit of what Tam says, they can hold the ball, they can keep the ball, they've got a game plan in mind. But we need more skillful players. We need players who are confident on the ball and can play the modern European game. This is not an isolated incident. This is a regular occurrence. If it wasn't for Celtic and Rangers, we wouldn't be nowhere near the top 10 in the coefficient.
Yeah, it happens every year. All these things all get thrown out there. Another one that gets thrown out is well, Rangers and Celtic aren't competing against anybody week on, week on. So they come up against these teams and it's a different aspect to the game. They're defending more now rather than attacking, so they have to get that. But I just think the technically gifted bit, and I go to Conor Goulson, which was a mistake, but I would argue that another centre half with more ability than him would have got out of that situation. Do you know what I mean? I think he'd be more comfortable with taking the ball and not panicking and just maybe passing it back or just getting himself out of the situation. And that's just a technical gifted player. You see them at centre halves at all these teams, they're comfortable on the ball. Just give me it, and somebody 5 minute yards away, but you just give me it anyway. I'll get myself out of this.
I'll give you another reason why Scottish football at times struggles to compete with other nations where we think we should be able to compete with them, because quite simply self-interest rules the roost. Celtic and Rangers, if it doesn't suit them, block every chance to promote the game, to actually make more money, to get more sponsors in. One's not happy that it's a car sponsor. They're always vetoing things that would help get people more money in the game. We're celebrating one sponsorship on Cinch. If you look at the SPFL's website in comparison to others with major sponsors, we need more money into our game to get maybe at grassroots level, maybe a higher quality of player that can brush off on some of the Scottish players. We haven't got a lot of money, Ruffy. That's why we are toiling as well.
These two are the main contributors. They make the decisions, but you have to say that the rest of them in the Premier League fall into that suit as well, because we've seen that every time there's a vote, they all stick together. They don't want to lose the money they're getting at the end of the season. So we all, I don't know, I've never heard Lee's views on it. We all want a 16-team league. We all want a more competitive league, but they just all vote for themselves.
We all want more money in the league to allow teams to be able to get better quality and maybe invest in better quality. That's what I want.
I think that's the norm, isn't it? The more money that the league has and the teams in the league has, the more attractive the players will be, the more attractive the football will be, the more entertaining it will be, the more sponsorships will come on top of that as well. So I'm in agreement. I'm ways. I'm not saying anything that you're on.
Yeah, I mean, but by the way, we're still talking about the big game on Sunday. You're going to have to get your boxing gloves out sooner or later.
Coming, especially for you.
Another thing we have to look at, we have to start looking at the coaches that are bringing through these young players.
Yeah, absolutely. Go on, pass it. Don't take him on, pass it.
You actually made a pertinent point early when you were having your rant. Our best young players are getting cherry picked, and you can obviously see that. I see that at youth level, boys at 13, 14, 15. If they're any good, they're going to England, and Motherwell's a great example of that. And fair play to them. They've made so much money in the last 5-10 years by boys that's not even played in the first team. Hamilton Accies are the same. They've just got one boy's went away down to Leeds that's not played in the first team. One's just away to Nottingham Forest. Both of the boys come through at Braidhurst. So you're right. We can't get these boys coming through into the first team and giving them 50, 100 games. Yeah. They're getting cherry picked from teams in England, and that's why maybe the standard now domestically has not gone up.
Yeah, and are the coaches maybe to take a bit in the chin as well, because see the amount of players that look, and instead of looking forward and trying to be more proactive, positive that way, the amount of them that look for that easy ball back the way, in my day brought up as a kid, I could rhyme off 30, 40, 50 players who could all take the ball in with 2 or 3 players around them, confident in their first touch, know what's behind them, they've lifted their head, they can do things. If you look at the teams that won European games for us, it's not going back to a halcyon day. They were all technically gifted. Celtic had 3 or 4 world-class players. Rangers had 3 or 4 top-drawer world-class players as well. They were playing in at World Cups.
Yeah.
Aberdeen had 3 or 4 top-drawer players, and so did Dundee United.
I know.
And you had one playing alongside you. Barry was a top player. Barry could take a ball in with 4 or 5 guys around him.
I know. Did you not just think the game's changed a wee bit?
It's changed. Money's changed it.
Maybe the coaching's changed as well.
Maybe the coaching.
Barry would have been snapped up before he played for Rangers. He'd have been away somewhere else.
Yep.
At this current age.
Do you know, it's a good point. Maybe the coaching's changed it, because I think nowadays, just solely in my opinion, I think coaches are a little bit ego-driven these days, where possession is all that matters. So it's just passing the ball across the back to get the stat up, either at half time, full time, and they'll look to say, did we dominate possession?
Yeah. Do you know another problem, Lee? You've got a division, and this is why we're getting gubbed and pumped out of Europe all the time. You've got a league where 8 of the managers, after week 3, go into a press conference and say, we just want to make sure we survive in the league. Yes. 12. We just want to make sure we survive. That can't be positive.
But that's the way it is. That's the way it's going. That's the way probably with the money in the league, with the boards maybe putting pressure on them. I've seen an interview with Stuart Kettlewell actually, and he was saying, it was brilliant, I loved it. He was saying that he's not scared to lose his job, although it's taken him, he was out the game for 2 years, he was doing all his media stuff, he was into the job. He's there to give the youth a chance, to try and bring them through, whether to sustain it in the first team, to make the first team better, or to sell them on because they're a selling club. So if he puts them in and they make a mistake, he's not going to bring them back out. So it's up to the board. If we're getting beat and the young boys specifically are making mistakes, but he thinks they're good enough to kick on, to make money or make the first team better in the next month or 2, then it's a board decision. Maybe it's me that's not good enough. That's what Stuart's saying, and I don't think all managers are like that. I think they go from month to month or week to week sometimes, and if you go 3 games of getting beat anywhere probably in Europe nowadays, you're under pressure.
Yeah.
It's just it's the game.
I never thought Hearts were going to win, Ruffy, but I genuinely thought Aberdeen could do something. And I was sitting watching the couch and thinking, oh, give me peace, man. Honestly. It really was infuriating, because I thought to myself, we will be sitting here saying Celtic, Rangers, Aberdeen, not ideal, but still 3. Aberdeen obviously are in the Conference League, but you know, you want them to get that extra £7 or £8 million that they would have got from the Europa League.
Yeah, I would think Aberdeen would have been banking on that. You know, the way they've been bringing players in and paying good money for players. You know, that additional money, they might have dived in and got another 2 or 3. That would have been on the cards. I think Tam summed it up, you know, the chances they had, you know, and it just shows you when you get to that level, that's what, in big games, that's what's wins you. In the latter third, obviously you've got to be tight at the back, but if you've got the players up front like they had, who, given a chance at that level, they stick it away, that wins you game.
You're never going to get 2 better chances than Aberdeen had, Peter. Duke's literally clean through with nobody near him, and Miovski.
But by the way,
both missed.
He's clean through, he's a quick player, the guy's 6'4" and 35 years of age. I'm sorry, run round him.
It's moments, it's big moments in the game and decision making. And Miovski's 1-on-1. The goalkeeper showing him a good bit of space in the goal. A little bit of composure, but again it comes back to moments. They put one over the bar for like 2-3 yards out, and I think the full game changed after that. And if if Aberdeen got that second goal, then I think it could have been a different outcome. We've seen Barry Robson speak earlier, and I sort of agree with him that they could have went through, but the harsh reality is they didn't.
Yeah. Okay, let's see where we are after the fallout from the defeats, and painful ones at that. Celtic, the draw for Europe in the Champions League, they're straight into that group stage. How are they going to fare? This is exactly how it all panned out for them in the group. So Celtic, first of all, Group E, Ruffy, Feyenoord, Atletico Madrid and Lazio. What do you make of it?
Well, I'm not going to fall into the same trap I fell into last year when I said this is a group that Celtic could finish second. What I would say is, I know the history they've all got, Madrid and Lazio and everything. They don't have a big hitter. They don't have maybe 2 big hitters, which you usually have. If you look at Group F, I think it's with Newcastle. Now that is a group and a half. Yeah. And I still think if they get themselves organised, they'll be there or thereabouts. I think at home.
Come on, give us an opinion before you go on holiday.
You slaughtered me last year when I said they were going to be.
Well, Celtic out of that group.
At least you had an opinion last year.
Well, second. I think they could get second in that group.
Second.
Yes.
Okay.
If they get themselves organised.
But don't give us the digging yourself out of the hole. No. Lee.
Third.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Yep. Third should be the realistic. Drop into the Europa League.
Yep, I'd go for third as well. I don't think. I think Feyenoord will be better. I think Lazio's the one maybe. Celtic beat them recently home and away with Neil Lennon.
Yeah. He wasn't a very good coach, was he?
No. So that's. Listen,
I give you that on the basis that he gets slaughtered. You know, he wasn't. He was a good coach when they beat Lazio.
Yeah,
you know,
I beat Lazio home and away. Fair play to Lenny, but I agree with Ruffy. There's no a Man City in there or a Liverpool or a real big hitter, and I think Celtic can be competitive. Maybe get third.
By the way, there's still 3 top teams.
Three big clubs.
3 very, very good teams. I think if they come in third, I think they've done well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and by the way, great trips for Tam to make, isn't it? Yeah. You know, 3 great.
He's already been banging the drum. I know it's like
Parkhead.
There's no point in Ruffy going to Madrid. He's been there.
I've been there.
Yeah,
I've never been to Madrid.
The other great
people there want me back.
Yeah, the cameraman doesn't want you back, by the way, because there's Ruffy in his shorts sauntering down Madrid, and the cameraman's get everything.
The barman, the slugging lettuce in Madrid wants you back.
So throw Tuppinsworth in here.
Oh, suddenly.
The draw's a joke. So sitting watching that Europe, it's a joke.
How?
You can play there, but you can't go in there, but you can't go into that pot, you can't go in there. Just get the first seeds, get the seeds in there, get them in a group, and then throw everybody else in, and whatever comes out, comes out.
Well, of course, I'd love it. I'd love for, if you're a champion of your country, you're in automatically.
Spain have got 5 teams.
I know, it'd do your head in. But by the way, listen, the whole game's all about, it's rigged for rich people, but rather than us going through... by the way, you must have annoyed me this morning.
I know, you're on one
today.
You were the winning team today.
I know what was happening. It's because people moan at me just generally. Here's the groups in total from the draw. And I have to say that there are some groups, Lee, you just wouldn't want to be in, because it's an absolute howler of one there with PSG, Borussia Dortmund, AC Milan and Newcastle. That is a belter, isn't it?
And you don't really want to be Newcastle in that group. I think, but look at the standard and that, it's crazy. But every one of them in the groups, they're there for a reason. They're there because they're top teams, and that's what makes the Champions League so exciting. But I think Newcastle, my God, like, I think they would bite your hand off for third right now.
Yeah, which they're not going to get.
You don't think so? I think Newcastle could win that group.
Tam,
I think Newcastle could win that group.
why don't you go on holiday with Ruffy? Honestly.
I think Newcastle will beat Dortmund and Milan.
Yeah?
Yes.
Well, there, Lee.
Yeah, it's a massive shout. It's big.
Is there any, Leatherham, is there any chance
I think the English teams are going to dominate again.
I've always said
No, that's a different argument.
Telling you.
That's a
in
different argument.
football, anything could happen, but that's
Nonsense.
Newcastle just signed AC Milan's best player. There you go.
You never
Take it for
know.
that.
Well, okay.
You never know.
We'll come back to you on that, Tam. But
What a jollies.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. Here's Rangers Europa League group. Lee, what do you make of that? Real Betis, Sparta Prague, and Aris Limassol.
I don't think it's too daunting. Limassol, you would like to think, would be the easier game for the other three teams, I would suggest.
Yep.
And I think Betis will be the ones that will be looking at the top of that group. So I think if Rangers can deal with Betis, I think they'll deal with Limassol. Then it's the Sparta Prague one, obviously. I think they'll do well.
Second.
I'll always back them. Second.
Yeah,
Yep.
Ruffy?
No, second for me, yeah.
Yeah, Tam?
Third for me.
Third. Okay. What about Aberdeen? They're in the Europa Conference, and listen, they're still in Europe, and I don't want anybody to misconstrue, why we're being so critical of it. It's just that we really wanted to see our clubs do well and get more money, and Aberdeen missed a real chance to do that yet again. Here's their conference group, and it's Eintracht Frankfurt, PAOK, HJK Helsinki, and Aberdeen. Fourth.
No, they'll beat Helsinki home and away for me. I think they'll finish third in that group. I don't think they'll beat the top two. Quite impressed with the Greek team and Frankfurt Bundesliga team. Don't see Aberdeen getting in, but I think they'll get 6 points. They'll beat the other two.
Yeah, I would agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, third.
Third, yeah.
Third for you. Fourth for me.
Yeah, I'm on the bandwagon. Third.
Third.
Yep, I think
Okay.
we'll go third.
Every team's going to finish bottom of the day. What's wrong with him? Well, the Scottish teams are rubbish. HJK Helsinki, Aberdeen can't finish above them.
I've just said, what did I say with Rangers? I said Rangers would finish
Third.
No, second.
Second, sorry.
I said Rangers would finish second.
Yes.
Celtic would finish third and drop into the Europa League. But Celtic and Rangers are Europa League teams. Yeah. You know, the Celtic fans are absolutely, delighted. They're going to go and get trips to Rome and get trips to Madrid, but they're going to finish, if they can finish third and not have the disappointment of last season and learn how to play European football, because remember, Ruffy, let's not pull any punches here and, start being nicey about it. That's why he's back. He's back to get them something in Europe, and it's not if it's third and they drop into Europa League. They're a Europa League side, so that's what Brendan's got to do. He's not back here to win the league. He's already won it before.
And he better change his tactics for the last time he was here, because we were in
most of the grounds
when it was 5 and 7-1, and people are saying, it's a great style of football, it's wonderful. That's got to change. I think the Celtic supporters might have bought into it the first time, but they're not going to buy into it this time.
It's not going to change.
They want to see it. They're not going to go away and get beat 6 and 7.
Brendan's not going to change, but he's not going to change his philosophy. No. Well, so they might get hammered again. I don't know, but he's not going to. He's not going to go. I'm going to shut up shop now. He's been managing for 20 years.
And if Celtic finished third and they dropped down to Europa, I think we had this debate the first show I was on. What is success in Europe then for Celtic if they drop into Europa?
But Celtic and Rangers should look at the Europa League and the Conference League and think they can go far in it.
But how far's far?
Well, far's
last eight.
No, wait a minute.
Last eight, so
far's as far as Rangers got.
Final.
You can't keep turning around and going, but it was really lucky. Rangers produced a game against Borussia Dortmund nobody thought they could. That's the nature of European football. You know it better than anybody.
Of course, I get that, but I would just like somebody to define what success is in Europe and what not everybody will be happy with, but what the general consensus is, they were a success in Europe last season. Why? Because they got to the semi-finals, because they got to the final, they won it. What is it?
I think quarters and semis
Last
for Rangers
eight.
and Celtic would be absolutely magnificent.
Okay.
And anything above that, you're saying, well done. Manager deserves a pat in the back, Ruffy.
Oh, most definitely. I think, you know, both sets of supporters would be happy with that, because they'd still be in Europe, they'd still be travelling, they'd be seeing their team playing against obviously top sides, and that's what they want their teams to do.
Yeah. Do you know my favourite bit of last season's Champions League? And this is the nature of it for Rangers and Celtic. My favourite bit of the Champions League games last year, and it wasn't the trips, Ruffy, it was when Real Madrid came out at Celtic Park, right? And the noise was unbelievably, right? And then when they play that Champions League and they start billowing the big emblem, it's like noise you've never heard, because of the nature of the way the stadium's built and the two levels. It was incredible. And I looked at two players in particular. I had a look, and there was Kroos, and he looked at Modric, and the two of them looked at each other and they went, we'll have a bit of this. Not, oh my God, I'm scared. We'll have a bit of this. This is magnificent. And then, bing, bang, bong, 60 minutes of Celtic played really well for 60 minutes, but unless you and I are mistaken, the game's for 90, and Real Madrid do what they do to everybody. Bish, bash, bosh, it's 3-0 and the game's over.
That's mentality of players. You're saying they're smiling. A lot of players would be going, oh no.
Yeah,
I don't want the ball. That's the difference.
Yeah.
That is the difference. And sometimes I think that can be the difference in Europe. You're saying earlier you want technical players, you want more Scottish players coming through technical, don't we all? But I think mentality plays a big part of that.
Have we got that mentality?
I think some players have. I don't think as a whole it can
The
be
national team has it,
generalised. There you go, there's the biggest one. The national team maybe a couple of years ago didn't. And now all of a sudden they seem to.
So it's possible.
It's very possible.
I think a lot of that's down to the coach.
There you go then. So that proves your point earlier on.
Do you know what I mean?
Coaches as well, of course. Get confidence.
Walter had that.
Yes, give your players confidence to go and play and express yourself and make mistakes.
There's not a player I haven't interviewed with Walter as a manager that he wouldn't have put his head through a brick wall. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, it's a mixture. Aberdeen, gutted that they dropped down, but Barry Robson clearly thought they should have achieved last night.
That's a top team, and I think you'll have seen that. You'll have seen that the front players they've got, who are ready to move for millions of different players, and how brave we were against them. I believe over the two legs we should have won the game. We should have went through with the amount of chances we created. So,
Do you agree with him?
Yes, I do, Peter. I watched both legs. I watched the game over in Sweden as well. It went 2-0 down. There was nothing in the game, and they came back strongly. Could have won it at the end. And then last night, just as Lee said, there's key moments in the game. 2-1 down. The boy misses a sitter for them. They get up the park. If he scores and it goes 2 each, I think Aberdeen win. I think they get the momentum of the game, the crowd, everything. And but didn't take their chances, and Hacken took their chances. So you've got to say fair play to them. But I don't think Hacken are a top team. I would dispute that. I think they're a good side.
I agree with you.
But I don't think they're a top team. I think they'll struggle in the group.
Two little footnotes before we go on to the Premiership stuff. I think this is a nonsense, by the way, but Hearts thumped by PAOK, and now Stephen Naismith's the manager.
Is that official?
Yes.
Well, you could see why they were doing that for
Just
European
a nonsense,
football.
isn't it?
They've done it so UEFA don't fine the club, I think. Well, for the outside looking in, that's what it looks like. But at least there's a bit of clarity now, and probably in the dressing room there's a bit of clarity now, and everybody needs to move on. I think Hearts will do well now. No European football. I think they'll kick on and do well. I think there has been, and it's easy to sit here and say, I was assistant manager last year and I get sacked. I think Hearts are a different team this year from last year.
In what respect?
I think they're more front foot. I think they play more in the opposition half than they did last year.
More direct.
More direct.
Yeah.
And
did you not want to do that last year?
What do you mean?
Well, did you want to be more direct last year? You were the coach along with Robbie.
Yes.
Yeah. Just didn't have the players.
No, not so much the players. I just think there's a certain way to play. Like we were talking about the younger coaches earlier, weren't we? And it's building for the back and passing. I think Naisy has realised that you get the ball in the final third, you've got Lawrence Shanklin up there, you've got a bit of pace out wide now, you get crosses into him. I think they'll score goals and they'll entertain this year.
Okay. I wonder who's getting that Hibs job. Ruffy, you'll be away next week. You'll miss it. We hope. Do we hope Neil Lennon's here, or do we hope he's back in football? It's a double-edged sword, because we're about to find out what Lee has just mentioned there. The mentality of a board.
Yes. Well, I will be away next week on holiday, but I will have my PLZ phone with me.
Oh, the bat phone.
I'll be checking it every day.
You'll be sitting at the bar. You'll be interested in PLZ. I don't know what date. You don't even know what date it is.
Just out of curiosity, it's a long shot here, but when you got to the end of August, in the early part of the league campaign, what was the reaction from the rest of the coaches when Robbie Nielsen said, "Look, I'm nipping away for 7 to 10 days. I've got a wee holiday home. I'm away."
Well, what certainly wasn't frowned up. I think I know what you're trying to say. You've left the boys in the lurch.
Yeah.
Oh, I trust them.
You know. Oh, well, you can trust us all you want. You can trust us all you want.
I don't know if that feeling's mutual. Do you trust it?
And by the way, the reason why Ruffy will be able to stay up to date, don't forget to download the PLZ Soccer app, because you can watch the programmes live, and you can also...
Well, nobody watched. Just be checked.
I think you are a moron. It's as simple as that. Anyway, by the way, can I just say to you, here's a look at the fixtures for the weekend. You can agree with us, disagree with us, give us your thoughts. You can post the messages on the app, and of course contact us by email as well. But here's the Premiership games: Kilmarnock, Ross County, Livingston, St Mirren, St Johnstone, Dundee, Celtic against Rangers, Aberdeen, Hibs, and Hearts against Motherwell. That's how it looks spread out over the weekend. So Rangers against Celtic is the first Old Firm game of the season. It's at Ibrox, and I have to say, you know, over the years we've had some really, really top drawer pundits over the 10 years.
Yep.
You know, is that fair, Ruffy?
Yeah.
We've enjoyed the company of some people. We've had a few badge kissers, but you know, at the end of the day, we've signed your man with Lenny, and they were absolutely magnificent in the Old Firm preview. It was absolutely sensational. Just the two of them shooting the breeze, because they've played more than a few of them.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the people the viewers or the listeners who do the show want to hear. They want to hear players who've been there, done it, and we've certainly had a few Old Firm guys on listening to the game. I always remember wee Barry saying that his first Rangers Celtic game, it took him 25 minutes to realise why he was on the park and what was happening. As everything was flashing around the
I can't believe that. It took him 25 minutes to make most of it.
Yeah, exactly. But I have to tell you, if we're talking about a preview, when Lee met Lenny is well worth watching on our YouTube channel.
I think, as in a lot of the Old Firm games, the first goal is really
crucial,
really important. And
it's
I
a great
think
shout.
if Rangers use the fans and the atmosphere, because Celtic aren't free flowing where they should be, in my opinion, I'll go for a narrow 1-0 Rangers.
Yeah, you'll have to find out what Lenny goes for on that one, but it's well worth watching.
Big Lee reminded me of Ronald de Villiers there for Tune the Fat, remember him?
Yeah.
The additions he couldn't get in talking and all that. And something like that. Big Lee there.
I have to tell you, by the way, Stephen Thompson better watch out, because the big man absolutely nailed it. It was all one take stuff, Ruffy.
You would expect that.
It was absolutely magnificent. Anyway, let's talk Rangers Celtic, because are we talking about two teams going head to head at the top of their game?
Well, you're going to slaughter me, because you always slaughter people who say, I wish I could see the team lines. I wish I could sit here and look at both teams, particularly Celtic. Are they going to throw in these new players into an Old Firm game? You know, how many players have never played in this game before? I know Rangers have had a bad one. Celtic aren't really hitting top form either. So the reason I'm going to go for Rangers is basically home advantage, 50,000 supporters. They'll be hurting more than Celtic are hurting, and I think they'll come out and just narrowly win it 2-1.
Well, you've gone early there, Bob. I thought we might have got some additional chat about it. But he's gone early. But here's what Michael Beale thinks of this game, because straight off the back of that disappointing game against PSV, the aim was obviously to get into the Champions League. It was to get into the quarterfinals of the Viaplay Cup, and it was to end the first period of league fixtures as high up or in front if we can. That's still in our hands. It's a huge game and the perfect game for us to go into. The team we're playing against don't go into a fantastic place. Don't go into this match in a fantastic place either. I'll get that out eventually. Don't forget, Lee's presenting next week's show. Don't go into it in a fantastic place. I think that's a fairly, succinct summing up of the whole affair.
Definitely. I think both managers will be looking at the opposite teams and saying they're probably playing at 75%. Both teams. They've certainly not hit the ground running. Both teams, here, and I think it'll be a really tight game. I'm a little bit with Ruffy, where home advantage might. I think it'll be a big advantage, home advantage. I think the fans will get right behind them. It'll be interesting to see whether the new signings will play. Do they put them right into that old firm cauldron right away, or are they going to be impact the last half hour? I would probably guess and say it would be more impact and go with tried and tested to start the game. I think it will be a really exciting game. I think it will be a nervy game. I think there'll be a lot of turnover of possession early on.
Why?
Because of so much at stake for the managers and obviously the players. And I think Ibrox will absolutely be bouncing on Sunday, and I think that plays a part in anybody's mentality, whether you're the home player or the away player.
Yeah, okay. I'm trying to keep myself in check because I just feel as if I've got the metal studs on today, Tam. There's no point in talking about it as the fans thing. That's done and dusted. It's no longer the great attraction it was.
Thank God.
It's now a case of. Lee's talked about the Rangers' perspective on it. How does Celtic get into this one? Have they made signings in that window that you think are good enough to make an impact for them? The big ones that everybody was expecting.
I think it's still a bit early to tell at the minute, Peter. The early signs are not that encouraging.
One of the midfielders from Benfica, Paulo Bernardo, they're going to try and get on loan with an option to buy deal. We don't know what he's going to be like. For Celtic, Nat Phillips has come in on a loan.
I think he's a good player. I think he's a good signing, Peter. I think that when you look at somebody like Nat Phillips, who's played in the Premier League with Liverpool, played in the Champions League with Liverpool, and you look at someone like Carter Vickers, who bounced about down there as well at Tottenham, wasn't really? And Carter Vickers came up here last year and was the best centre half in Scotland. So I think if you use that as a gauge, I think if you're getting a guy of that quality, he's 26, he's not a kid, he's an experienced centre half playing at a big club. I think if he comes up and plays with Celtic, I think he'll be a very good signing. So I think he's a good one. The boy Lewis Palmer's an interesting one. I still speak to a guy who I played with in the USA, a Greek guy who's now the Greek women's coach over there, and he was raving about him. He said he was the best wide man in Greece. He thinks he's a top player. Well, that remains to be seen whether he backs that up. So I think he might be a good signing as well. And the boy Bernardo's played with Benfica. If he can have the same impact as Jota had coming on loan, then. But we don't know, Peter. It's different coming to Celtic Rangers. Lee's played at Rangers. He knows the pressure that comes with that. It's totally different kettle of fish. You're judged instantly. If these guys get in Sunday and play and start and are poor, they'll be written off immediately. They'll be written off rubbish, no good enough. So that's the nature of the beast at Celtic Rangers. So if they can come in and actually grasp what it means to play for a Celtic or a Rangers, then I think they'll be good signings.
This is what Brendan Rodgers had to say about Bernardo. He's a young player coming in with potential. He comes in and we'll have the opportunity to see him, and he'll give us more strength and depth in that midfield area. We'll see how he develops. I don't think there will be many more coming in now. How do you think Celtic fans are going to react to that, Ruffy? Bearing in mind that they were waiting quite a while on big signings for the Champions League.
Yeah, they were. I think they'll be disappointed. I think they'll be hoping that Celtic haven't fallen back to what they used to be, thinking, no, we're ahead, we're up there, we're in the Champions League, we'll just spend so much and we'll keep enough in reserve. But certainly there hasn't been the big signing in yet. They're going down the road of loans. I don't think the Celtic supporters will be happy, but they'll stick by the team right until something happens. And then when something happens, then the questions will all be asked and somebody will have to answer them. But for me, they're not any better than what they are last year. I think they're very predictable this year, particularly up front. I think Maeda, Kyogo and Abada are teams are now knowing their strengths. You know, they know they like to get the ball in out wide, then it get whipped in, and teams are now defending better against them.
Who's going to score the goals for them, other than Kyogo?
Yeah, it's a big problem. Then you start looking at the midfield. O'Reilly's come up with a couple of big goals for midfield.
He's a midfielder.
I know that, but he's still coming up with goals. But no, you're right. You know, you're not looking at a team. Last year, obviously, Jota's not there anymore. You were looking at a Celtic team and going, he'll come up with something, There's not the same numbers now who are going to come up with the same numbers.
I would flip that and say who's going to score the goals for Rangers?
Tavernier.
Who's going to score the goals for Rangers? The right back.
Well,
the right back. It's not going to be any of the front three on recent evidence. They've been poor.
Yeah.
So there's. I think somebody's got to step up, whether it's a Dessers, you know, or somebody like, or maybe somebody at Celtic side have just come in. Somebody comes in, steps up, and shows, because.
Which striker have they just signed that's going to step up?
Well, a forward, I don't know. Who's back in training? Maybe they throw him in. I don't know, Peter. But I think if you're saying, well, where's the goals going to come from Celtic? I think you've got to say the same for Rangers, because neither looks particularly good going forward at the minute.
Yeah, you've got 50 million in the bank. Your players going out right, left, and centre that they're emptying, and some of them they'll get money for. I'd be curious to see how Celtic fans are viewing. Where are the big signings? How much money have you actually spent in this window? You're re-signing players in long-term deals who failed in Europe last year, and now this is a manager who said he needs better players after inheriting a treble-winning squad.
It just seems like there's something not right, and I don't know what it is. Obviously, but you've just nailed it. The money for Jota, the Champions League money.
And they've re-signed Leila Bada just today in a 4-year deal.
They've knocked back money for O'Reilly apparently. So there's no real need for the money, obviously, if they're knocking big money back. But maybe it's just me, but I was expecting a £5, £7, £8 million player to come in to Celtic. And I would have thought that would have been one of Brendan's reasons why he come back to the club, to be able to.
He's just said Bernardo's one for the future. We'll see how he develops.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think with them, I thought when they went out the cup, there would have been an immediate reaction of maybe one or two big hitters come in. I'm not saying the players that have come in are not, but I mean to show the fans that they're spending money.
Yeah. Okay, predictions. Ruffy, you've gone early. 2-1.
2-1 Rangers.
Lee?
1-0 Rangers narrowly.
2-1 Rangers.
I'm going to go for 2 each. I do not see Celtic winning the game, because I think the best Celtic can get is a draw.
Okay, just before we move on, just one little mention. Obviously, sometimes we hear podcasts are plenty all over the place, and obviously we thank the people who watch our programmes on a regular basis, and we're delighted for your support. At least you'll get an opinion here. Alan Stubbs was on a podcast and basically said he claimed that a referee said to him in an Old Firm game that he would never get a penalty against Rangers while he was in charge, because Stubbs had claimed for a Stonewall penalty in an Old Firm game, and he was told, while I'm refereeing, you'll never get a penalty against Rangers. He wouldn't name the referee in question, but by the way, what a statement to make, 30 years on. That's some call, isn't it?
Certainly is some call if it's true. That I personally have never witnessed a Scottish referee saying that to anybody in my era or any time when I played, but it has to be backed up, doesn't it? But
I can't see him naming the guy. A lot of people will be saying to him, wait a minute, who are you talking about? Which referee said that? And then of course you've got the ultimate thing, Lee, is the referee be like, 50,000 in here. And you heard that. Who else heard it? Let's go to court.
Exactly. I don't know why he would say that. Maybe he's thought he heard that. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I agree though, it's very strange 25, 30 years on to come out with a statement like that and not name the referee. So I don't know. I don't know what's happening with Big Stubbs. He's maybe just trying to throw something out there so everybody gets back in touch with him again. Alright, Stubbs, how you doing? It's that referee.
Right now, by the way, the Tin Foil Brigade are on YouTube looking at old Celtic Rangers games that Alan Stubbs is playing when Celtic never got a penalty. It's a certainty, isn't it?
It's swamped. I showed Tim, I said, look at this. It's all swamped with it. It's mental. Anyway, listen, strange thing ahead of an Old Firm game. Just thought I'd say that to you. Aberdeen against Hibs, two teams coming off the back of disappointment, one managerless with David Gray, and we wish him well because, you know, it's another interesting programme in our Straight Talk programme. It's on our YouTube channel right now at a one-to-one with Aidan McGeady, which is an interesting watch to say the very least. And you know, he's been there, he's looked at it, and he was very complimentary towards David Gray. So he's got good ideas.
Yeah, I actually watched it. I think that David has got standards. I think you need that as a coach. You know, you can't let things go, let things lie. You've got to be strict on things, certain things, and by all accounts, Aidan was maybe making some pointed comments that the previous manager wasn't like that. You know, he let things go and let things slide, which more stricter managers wouldn't, and maybe that's why he's not on a job anymore. But I like David. Listen, he's got a job for life at Hibs for scoring that goal against Rangers. He can be there forever if he wants. He's stepped in 2 or 3 times and done pretty well. To be honest, he's been solid. They've done well. I don't know if the time for him is now in terms of getting the job, but maybe he's got to go somewhere else and prove himself, then come back.
Who do you want to see get the job? Somebody from Australia?
I wanted Derek McInnes to get the job, Peter. Yeah. I want the 3 I put up on Monday was Derek, McInnes, Stephen Robson and Len. I think that Hibs need somebody that's experienced in this league, Peter. I think it's a risk. I think that Lee Johnson never coached in Scotland before. I know I put up yesterday on Twitter that doesn't count for a lot, but I just think you need somebody that is used to the pressures of being at a big club like Hibs, and going 3 or 4 games without winning a game. The pressure's on, fans are screaming. You've got to have that calmness about you, that know things can turn. So I think that's a safe, steady pair of hands now. If I was nailed down to one, I would go for Derek McInnes, but he doesn't seem to be linked at all at the minute. There's no paper talk. Maybe that's a good thing. Stephen Robson and Lennon, so they would be the 3 for me, not someone from Australia. I know Nick Montgomery's been linked, Peter, and he's done well over there, but that would be hugely risky as well for me.
This is what David Gray had to say ahead of this game against Aberdeen.
Absolutely, it becomes a cup final for us. You know, the one before the international break is really, really important. That everyone's well aware of that, what's at stake, and it's really, really important that we rest now, we recover as quick as we can, because we need to go up there on the front foot and make sure we put a good performance in and the right result.
Okay, Aberdeen 2-1. What do you got?
I went Aberdeen to win as well. I think I went 2-1 as well.
Lee?
Hibs 2-1.
Hibs at Pittodrie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just checking.
What?
I just thought I'd drop that down in your mind. Okay, I'll change your mind.
I'm actually going for a very, very rare occasion. I'm going to go against Hibs here. I think Aberdeen will win. I was quite impressed with Aberdeen. If they take their chances, I'll need to win. I think Hibs are still terrible at the back, and he's not going to fix it in that short time. So I think
he says he's a right good coach.
He's not an immediately good coach.
not in that short space of time. He's not going to be able to get the pull a rabbit out of that. But I'm going to go for 2-1 to Aberdeen. Sorry.
Okay, Hearts against Motherwell is a tasty one. Kerry Pollock was out at Fir Park.
Here at Fir Park today, Stuart Kettlewell is hoping that deadline day is a stress-free day at the office, but did admit that he's not finished with adding to his squads.
I'm hoping to bring in one more. I'm hoping to bring in one more player. As I say, with a couple of outgoings, that's maybe given us an opportunity to bring in one more. So I'm relatively far along the way in making that happen. But again, that's purely on the balance of the squad. It maybe wasn't necessarily something I was looking to do. As I say, outgoing last week has probably given us an opportunity to bring in another 2, one of which we've got in, and the other one I would anticipate will probably be confirmed at some point today.
And the youngest name on the Motherwell roster at the minute is 17-year-old Lennon Miller, who has the title of being the club's youngest player and the club's youngest goal scorer as well, but says that's not at the forefront of his mind when he's out playing on the pitch.
I don't really find it affect me. It's kind of just keep my head down, work as hard as I can and prove people that I'm good enough.
For all the latest breaking headlines in the Scottish Premiership and more, be sure to download our app on the App Store and Google Play and subscribe to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel.
Yeah, well done to Connie. Always a wee bit of PR as well, Ruffy. She's a team player. That's Kerry. Yeah, team player.
Kerry, remember?
Do you like? You don't even know. Did you listen to her? Did you listen to?
Yeah, listen. He was talking to me in between.
You're a disgrace.
Shocking.
We've been very complimentary, and Kerry mentioned it there with, Lennon Miller as well. It's, it's young players that are getting their chance.
It's one of the best clubs. Obviously, I'm going to say that I come through there myself, but you've got your Pearson, McFadden's, Turnbulls, loads and loads, and I think Lennon is going to be the next one. I've played against and with his father. He was a good player at his time, but it's amazing he was a target man striker. Lennon's a ball playing centre midfield player, and the manager speaks really highly of him. I've watched him a couple of times and I think he could possibly go on to bigger and better things, but I think his mentality just now is just trying to get as many first team games in a run as possible.
Yeah, okay, I've got a draw for this one. I think I've got 1-1.
1 each.
Yeah.
I'm going to go Hearts 2-1.
No, Hearts are going to be in the front foot with Naisy. I'm going to go Hearts.
Okay then. That's roughly being controversial. They're just throwing you around here. Kilmarnock against Ross County. Patrick Mullen was there at Kelly.
It is transfer deadline day in Scotland and I'm here at Rugby Park speaking to Derek McInnes. The window closes at 12 p.m. tonight, but if you're a Kilmarnock fan, I would not be going to sleep anytime soon. McInnes confirmed today that his side are still actively looking to get some business done.
And everything else, we're still trying to bring someone in. We're working, everybody's working really flat out to try and do that. We've got one in particular and 2 or 3 other plates spinning, but we're trying to lean on everything possible to kind of get this done. So good support from the board, good support from my recruitment team, and staff are just trying to make sure we can try and deliver a signing.
Derek McInnes has also been linked to the vacant managerial position at Hibernian. The bookies have him at 25-1 to be the next Hibs boss, but he insisted he is only focused on his Kilmarnock team.
Nothing changes, to be honest. I think for me, I've committed to Kilmarnock and they've committed to me. I'm really enjoying what we're doing here. This club for me we've only just scratched the surface. We're looking to try and keep driving it on. So, any distractions, either way, whether it's good or bad, I think it's important that we just concentrate on the job, and that's exactly what we're doing. My focus is just trying to have our club to have the strongest season possible, to be honest, and hopefully we can make a signing.
Yeah, one more in at Kelly is what he's hoping for. Livingston against St Mirren, no surprise. It's a strange one for one of the managers. One manager hopes there's one more out the door. He's been trying to get him out for the last 3 months, and I don't know if David Martindale's got a stake in Joel Newbley, but he's been trying to punt him, as you're about to find out.
I'm struck sometimes, honestly, like how I see, I'll just use Scotland as an example. Probably some of the bigger clubs go and spending hundreds of thousands of pounds, if not millions of pounds, on a player that's not tested in the Scottish game, when you've got, for me, one of the best offensive players in the league on your doorstep.
Well, Ruffy, fair play to Del Boy. We've got a lot of time. We are big fans of David, but boy, he has really tried to get Joel out the door.
Yeah, I actually believe he's been one of the canvassing things with a big tannoy.
Joel for sale. Last striker.
Well, I mean, I was raving about him in the Championship when he was up at Arbroath on loan, and I came in and told everybody he was ragdolling mostly everybody, and he's done it in this league as well, and he's a super player. I'm going to go for a draw in this one. I think Livingston have taken a lot out of the Hibs game last week, and St Mirren are doing well, so I'm going to go a draw.
I've got St Mirren to win. What about you?
St Mirren to win.
I've got a horrific watch. 1 each.
Okay. Now, Stephen Robson, by the way, Phil Marsham, Manager of the Month, Ryan Strain, Player of the Month. It's just none but great news at St Mirren.
No, he's done a tremendous job. His stock's at an all-time high at the minute at St Mirren, and he's built a really, really strong squad there. They're all playing it the way he wants to play. They're hard to break down, they're dangerous on the counter-attack, and heavily linked with the Hibs job today, so we'll just need to watch this space.
Yep, well, he's certainly one of the 3 that I think all of us have mentioned on the show. Alison McConnell was out there to chat to him today.
St Mirren manager Stephen Robinson has played down speculation linking him with the vacant Hibs job and insisted that there has been no contact between him and the Easter Road side.
I think that's
that question shouldn't be answered. You know, I'm the St Mirren manager. I've had no contact from anybody. I've been linked with every job in Scotland throughout the years, and I've not spoken to a single club. So, you know, I conduct myself properly. I can't take my eye off what we're doing here. I'm totally focused on tomorrow.
Robinson picked up the first Manager of the Month award this season and was joined by Ryan Strain, who collected the Player of the Month award, and he has applauded the effort of this Saints squad, who look to have picked up where they left off last season.
Yeah, good way to start the week, guy. It's nice. Listen, as every manager says, is not definitely not one person at this football club. I think it's a culmination of everybody's hard work throughout a long period of time.
And Robinson is keen that none of his players are cherry-picked before the closure of the window this evening.
In bed at 10 o'clock, you have no chance. I only found out deadline day was on Friday. I thought it was Thursday, so I thought I got away with it. So it's a strange time whoever made that rule, 12 o'clock midnight on Friday. Crazy decision, but no, they won't get me at 10 o'clock at night. No chance. Me and Jim Gillespie will have our phones firmly turned off after 5.
Well, you've got to treat that with a pinch of salt, because at 5 to 10 tonight, I know that David Martindale will be calling you and saying, "You want Joel Nibley? Come on, Steve-O, come on, you're my last call."
We'll take 200 grand.
Exactly. 150. St Johnstone against Dundee. St Johnstone, it's a retro jersey day. Saints fans are invited to wear their favourite strips. It's quite a lot of them could be coming in Man U and Liverpool. But it's a good initiative. Well done to St Johnstone. And by the way, it's a strange thing because of the history of them. They view this as a wee bit of a derby up there.
Yeah, and I was going to go a draw earlier on, but I've changed my mind because I think St Johnstone did particularly well last week. So I think they're going to go into this one home advantage. I'm going to go them to win 2-1.
Yep, I'll go Dundee. You?
I'm going a boring draw.
Played in this fixture, quite tasty at times. The Tayside derby, they call it up there.
Yeah.
One each.
Okay. Just before, shut up. Just before we go, the UEFA winners have been revealed. The men's player of the year, no surprise, Erling Haaland.
Oh, it speaks for itself. Look at the goals he scored.
Do you think he was worthy of it ahead of Messi? World Cup year.
Yes. Good point.
Yeah.
But yes, because I said yes at the start. I think with the goals he scored, the impact he's made in the Premier League, the age he's at, I think he deserved it.
Okay, Pep, no surprise?
No surprise.
Okay, Women's Coach of the Year, Serena Wiegmann, and she got and picked up her award and, backed all the Spanish squad in this Luis Rubiales affair. So clearly, some women are absolutely going out there and putting their opinion out, and fair play to Serena for doing that.
Yes, it's amazing it's still bubbling on. I thought it had been sorted by now, but the Spanish FA seem to be backing their man at the minute, so it remains to be seen what's going to happen then.
Ruffy, you know what it's like, when you're a kid, you collect the sticker albums, you're into your football, we love players at home and abroad, and I've always looked with great fondness at Jan Youngblood, who sadly passed away. He was a Dutch goalkeeper, and I always associate him with the great Dutch side. And then, of course, you played in World Cups, he played there, you'll know him.
Yep, I actually swapped jerseys with him. I had his jersey until I sold it for a few bob. But he was.
Did you? Yeah, absolutely. He did. Yeah, absolutely.
But no, he was in a tremendous side full of world-class players.
The Van der Kerkhoffs, Johnny Rep, Johan Neeskens.
Yeah, played them. Played against them under 18, Scotland under 18.
You did as well?
They were on that Holland team at Ibrox, beat us 1-0.
One? That's
Holland. Holland won 1-0.
Aye, I don't mean that with that quality player. That's no bad.
Okay, here's the English Premier League fixtures for the weekend. If you're looking forward to some of the tasty games down south to look forward to, Luton against West Ham's certainly not one of them. It's Sheffield against Everton, Man City, Fulham, Chelsea, Nottingham Forest, Burnley against Tottenham, Brentford, Bournemouth, Brighton against Newcastle, Crystal Palace, Wolves, Liverpool, Aston Villa, and Arsenal, Man United. Arsenal, Man United is the only one worth watching. Is that fairly?
I think the Brighton and Newcastle game will be a good game as well. I think it was 5:30 there. I was leaning in 5:30 on Saturday night. I think that'll be a great game.
Luton West Ham for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is. By the way, Liverpool have rejected a £100 million bid plus add-ons, which could go to, I think, 150 million for Mo Salah to go to Saudi Arabia. I think they're coming back with 175. If Liverpool sell Mo Salah on the last day of the transfer window, all hell will let loose around Anfield, Ruffy.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, but 175 million is quite a lot.
Do you know that's the thing?
Last year, you've got to sell him.
You've got to sell him.
Sell him and go and buy Mbappe.
But the only thing that I think needs sorted is the transfer window still goes on for 2 weeks.
For them,
that country,
in Saudi Arabia, yeah.
In Saudi Arabia. So Liverpool's got a decision to make. Do they cash in and try to replace him now while they can, or does the window shut and Salah turns around and says, I want to go, you need to accept that?
Yeah.
And they probably need to accept that, and they won't be able to bring him. I think that all the transfer windows should be as aligned as possible.
They can still sign free agents outside the window, Liverpool. So
Yeah,
they can maybe get Morelos in as a replacement.
Yeah, okay. Don't forget, Tam's on Twitter. You can catch him on there when you want to cane him. Yeah, exactly. Listen, if you get a chance, Aidan McGeady's my straight talk this week. Next week is from the entertainment world, well worthy of your eyes and ears. You can download our podcasts across all the platforms. They are going very well, and thank you to everyone who supported us for that. Kerry will be here with Tam and Ruffy in the morning preview at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. It's released for you to view, looking ahead to all the games over Saturday and Sunday, and they've got the big quiz head to head. We've got the women's football show, we've got Straight Talk, we've got, of course, the football show as well. There is so much more for you to basically cast your eye and ears over on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. And Sunday, not to be missed, Tam, myself and our journalist Blair Malloy will be reading out all your comments. Join us live right after Rangers against Celtic. We'll be live waiting on your comments. We'll be reacting to them on YouTube, on Facebook, on Twitter. We'll be reading them out as well. We're ready for it, Tam, aren't we?
I just went to Halfords there and got a helmet.
Yeah,
just for the game.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. So you can join us right after Rangers and Celtic and give us your immediate reaction to it, and we'll be reading out all, if not all, maybe 75% of your comments, because as you know, there are 25% maddies who follow Rangers and Celtic after these games that we won't be reading out. To Lee McCulloch, who'll be sitting with his own tin helmet in his own house, not moving anywhere. To Ruffy,
full Rangers for everyone.
Yeah, Ruffy, enjoy your holiday.
Thank you very
and
much.
again, it'll be great to see you just before Christmas. Tam will be with me because he's a team player on Sunday. Join us if you can. From everyone here, thank you for listening and watching.